Hey everyone, and welcome to the CM-GRUNT channel and to the third vid in the W series. Also, back to the original format of editing since the stream type video I did for the second episode. Now, we're taking a break from the WWE vids and we're looking at something from AEW this time, and that something is Jade Cargill and her TBS title run. So strap in people, it's gonna be a bumpy ride as we ask what is happening with Jade Cargill's TBS title run and her undefeated streak. We will try and find out what's going on with this run. Is it stale? Does it need a shake up or a change, and how? I'm a bit rusty with my intros, so there are no jokes, but you know what is not a joke? Making sure you click subscribe. It's free, it helps with the algorithm, and I know most of my views come from people who are not subscribed, so help me out, subscribe and leave a comment down below. Let's get into it. Hey guys, so disclaimer, I did the voiceover over a month ago, and so there are re-records in this video which you will see, but also whilst editing during Double or Nothing, a certain title change happens that affects the video. I'm not going to spoil it in case you haven't seen the results, although you should have seen it by now, but go check it out. However, just bear that in mind, it's just a bit of fun. Okay, back to the video. So I initially wrote this script about a month ago before the 26th and the 28th of April episodes of AEW Dynamite and Rampage respectively, but due to unforeseen circumstances I'm only releasing this now, but it's worked out well since Jade has already had a title match with Taya Valkyrie since then, and the time in between kinda helps to prove my point. Jade Cargill has been presented as a big deal from her first match tagging with Shaq to face Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet. Remember that? And the tournament leading to her TBS title win was a tournament that was built around her and her dominance. She has been built and portrayed as a megastar who, if we are being honest, has never really looked in danger of taking a loss or losing her title. Now, if we are going to be technical about it, because there's that one fan out there that will point this out, Jade has, air quotes, lost, closed air quotes, a match in her career, but we are talking the Battle Royale, a casino Battle Royale that not only was she not the dominant character she is now, but a match I even forgot she was in. And don't lie to me guys, you forgot she was in it too, didn't ya? But anyway, let's start with her matches. Her matches were exciting at first, but for a while now they have been very repetitive and formulaic, and to be honest, a bit boring. A lot of them are either short and feel like squashes, or simply put, they are squashes. And she's only had like 3 matches longer than 10 minutes, 2 of which were in the TBS title tournament. The next one was only a few months later, and it's been over a year since she's had that 10-minute plus match in April 2022. These matches were Thunder Rosa, Ruby Soho and Marina Shafir respectively. Even Taya Valkyrie, who has looked like one of her more credible opponents, was shy of the 10-minute mark. She really is the female Goldberg at this point. May as well just make her wrestle on Rampage to give her some more wins. Or you could just inflate the total number of wins like Goldberg's record back in the day. Actually, do the former. Give her some actual matches on Rampage so she can improve on her wrestling. I actually believe that she is quite good, especially for her limited time in the ring, but sometimes she can feel a bit green in places. Don't at me and don't stone me, but this can flesh out her win-loss record, or more accurately, her win-win record. But back to the point, there's an issue with this Goldberg comparison, as most of his matches still felt fun when he was at his peak. Jade sometimes feels like a slog and not as great as it should be. She can wrestle a better match than Goldberg and has much more athleticism, but she doesn't seem to wrestle long matches, and it's making her run feel a bit tedious, and we're not as excited as we should feel when we see a Jade Cargill match being advertised. Not to mention the fact that she doesn't wrestle regularly, only for most of them to be a squash. As of this writing, she has had 8 matches between now and the 1st of February, and 2 of them were tag matches, not on TV, but on the Jericho Cruise and Dark respectively. If we want to bring it to more recent events, you had Wardlow's run, where some of his matches were starting to feel repetitive due to him having the same squash matches over and over again. It was fun at the beginning, but now it just feels like the same old thing. It genuinely looks like they're giving her a Goldberg level record, so I want to see if they actually match it. Anyway, now just look at her opponents. I'm not going to go through all of her opponents, but I will look at some of her more credible opponents in chronological order so we can delve deeper into her TBS title run. In 2021, there was Nyla Rose, which was also a 3-way with Thunder Rosa, the tournament match against Thunder Rosa. You had the tournament final against Ruby Soho, but that was in January 2022. But for the rest of 2022, she beat the Bunny, Brittany, Ty Conti, Marina Shafir, Anna Jay when she joined the JAS and it seemed like she was more credible, Willow Nightingale, Madison Rain, Athena, Willow Nightingale and Marina Shafir again, Nyla Rose again but this time 1v1, and potentially credible opponents that she's had in 2023 were Red Velvet in their second singles match when Velvet was portrayed more dangerously than the first match, and more recently Taya Valkyrie, who has been one of her strongest opponents for a while. I have not mentioned any of her tag matches here, but if she had multiple matches against the same opponent, I haven't mentioned all of her matches with some of these opponents as their credibility differed between each of their matches. Now, are these women credible opponents? Yes and no. No, some of them do not feel credible, hence why I have left so many of them off the list. It wasn't terrible when she was beating Kiera Hogan, Layla Hirsch and Red Velvet in their first 10 or 20 matches, because even if they wasn't at the top of the card, there are still good wrestlers who can help build her up. But later on in her undefeated streak and during her TBS run, she's having short matches with AQA, Sky Blue, Layla Gray before she became a baddie, and Vert Vixen, who was never on Dynamite at all or on Rampage from what I remember, having a TBS title elimination match with Jade, which she lost, then still have a title match with her 2 months later. Like, what did she do to warrant a title shot? And she's not the only one. There are loads of women, and I'm not going to start naming them, who are basically unknown, some of which not even on the AEW roster, and yet were brought in to just get squashed in under a minute or two by Jade in a title match. Like, what did these women do to deserve a shot? And now, when I see her about to wrestle some of these women I know has no chance of winning, I'm just thinking, what is the point besides padding her win counter? She's not going to lose, and some of these squash matches aren't doing anything to help her improve or build her up. Even some of the wrestlers I've mentioned before, when I saw that she was going up against some of them like Anna Jay, The Bunny or even Ty Conti, there was a massive audible sigh. Never did I think Jade was losing those matches. But there were some opponents where it could have been believable that they could beat Jade, but there have been a few problems. Some are credible, sure, then Jade just wins, lol. Or they're built up, then Jade just wins, lol. And it becomes increasingly difficult to think a star that you would believe is credible before coming to the company could debut feuding with Jade and win the title, because she just wins, lol. See Athena, Madison Rain and Taya Valkyrie for clarification. And to be honest, now that I say it, could debut feuding with Jade feels like a stretch. The Taya Valkyrie program is probably the first time since Athena, or maybe the more recent Red Velvet title match, that actually feels like a program. Nothing feels like a feud with Jade. It's like someone just comes up to Jade, challenges her for the title, and that's the match. Sometimes they are built up to seem somewhat credible, and other times they are just having a match which doesn't make them look good and doesn't make it look like they're going to be ending the streak. Again, more similarities with Wardlow in his title reigns. How often has Wardlow been in a feud with any of his TNT runs besides Samoa Joe, Men of the Year, and more recently Powerhouse Hobbs and QTV? Jade Cargill's current run feels like that, but worse. I feel like she needs longer matches, obviously when she's ready to have them, but I think she is ready depending on who she faces. She needs some substance, you know, some storytelling, some feuds that she can be in that will make the fans, you know, care. And don't get me wrong, it's fine for a dominant force that have a title match which you know full well they are not losing the title. See also Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles and Finn Balor. But I think that she needs to have more matches which are unpredictable. Women with credibility who you can genuinely look at and think, Jade winning this is not a guarantee. Also, there's only really been 2 recent women's factions in AEW since the Nightmare Collective. Remember them? And they are the Baddies and Britt Baker's faction with Jamie Hayter and Rebel. These 2 factions were active at the same time, but because one was embroiled in the TBS title scene and the other was either in the women's title scene or near the top of the card, not to mention most of the time they were both heels, there was no interaction or feud between them, just thrown together women to battle either faction. That's criminal to me, but there is a new faction now in AEW who could go against the Baddies later on down the line, which we'll talk about later. Even though this feels like a stretch now with Kiera Hogan and then Red Velvet both leaving the group, but I guess they can always add a new baddie. Brings me to my last point of personnel. We spoke about her actual matches, the type of matches they are and how they seem formulaic. We spoke about the opponents that she's already faced and how most of them seem like they're not that credible. Now we're going to look at personnel, women in the company that might be able to change all that. You can't just build a superstar all the time just before the potential title match without a storyline, and what's worse, you only build them on dark or elevation away from TV. I've mentioned some of these women could have conceivably beaten or won against Jade. But you look at these women, just look at them. Look at all the ones that I've mentioned earlier and ask the question, how big of a star are these women and how close to the top of the card are they? Other than Nyla Rose, Thunder Rosa and Ruby Soho, who out of these women have had a women's title program or even a women's title match? I think Athena had a title match, I believe at Grand Slam in the 4-way, but besides that, I cannot think of anyone else. Nyla Rose and Ruby Soho had dropped down the card considerably by the time Jade had faced them, and Thunder Rosa was still rising up the card and wasn't in the women's title picture until after she had lost in the semi-finals of the tournament to Jade. They are definitely big stars and credible opponents, don't get me wrong, but looking at them and where they were at that point in their AEW careers, it's understandable that Jade had won. This is a mid-card title, so yes, mid-card wrestlers can and should be challenging for it, but it's good to have these women who have been associated with the women's title, the top title, to challenge Jade for the TBS championship before or after they were going for the top strap. Makes it feel like a top and important title, like when Cody was challenging for the TNT belt. So why not drop some of the women from the women's title picture to the TBS title picture to challenge Jade? There isn't too many women to pull from because, let's be honest, the women's division needs just a bit of work in AEW in many people's opinion. But if you throw in a Britt Baker, a Jamie Hayter, fresh off losing her current title, I called for her to challenge Jade before, but she won the women's title and I love Jamie, so she can hold on to that belt forever. Toni Storm, maybe rehabilitate Ruby Soho or Nyla Rose and allow one of them to challenge again. Remember, Nyla Rose was seen as one of the biggest monsters in the women's division. A returning Thunder Rosa, who last time she wrestled was as the AEW Women's Champion. That would bring massive star power in comparison to their last match where she wasn't even at the top of the card. Or Chris Statlander, who was actually in a feud sort of with Jade before her injury and was poised to eventually battle or even take the belt off of Jade if rumours were to be believed. Now I'm going to throw 3 names into the ring and I believe that they would be great challengers for Jade. First there's Saraya, who I earmarked as someone who would be champion in AEW, but I was mostly referring to the world title. But what if you allow her to become TBS champion instead, or at least when AEW are ready to let her eat a pin, which I believe she is also yet to do, feed her to Jade so she can beat someone with credibility who came from the top title picture. And the fact that I've already mentioned Toni Storm and Ruby Soho means this could work for any of them in their outsider faction. No, not that one. Could potentially go for the title whilst actually starting a feud with the faction as opposed to just Jade, and gives it a narrative. Credible. Another name is Riho, the inaugural women's champion. When she wrestles, she always gets a large pop. She's usually in the title picture when she's on TV or near the top of the women's division, and her program with Nyla Rose was actually really good. It was a good narrative that ended in a David versus Goliath type of match, with David being triumphant over the Giant. It's a model that in many situations actually worked, and I reckon that there is every possibility that this would work. Book it, AEW, you cowards. It brings credibility using someone as over as Riho, always at the top of the card in this capacity. The last name is Trinity, or Naomi to all you WWE purists out there. Fun fact, I had to re-record this because for some reason I did not double check that Trinity had signed for Impact and went on a rant about her not being or being a free agent in the original recording. Yes, I knew the rumours, but I didn't even realise she was scheduled for a match the same day I was recording this, and I'm there chatting about free agent. For the record, pretty much all of this voiceover was recorded on the 18th of May last week, Thursday, so this is a do-over, the idiot I am. Anyway, she is a well-known top star, and seeing her come in and be the face of the division would be a breath of fresh air. Not to mention it's another credible opponent and someone who could believably win from the jump. They have been seen out in public together, and I made a joke that only a contract dispute with WWE may stop them, but now she is set to have her in-ring debut in Impact, and AEW have a history of working with Impact. There is literally nothing stopping them from doing a program, so pull the trigger. And if you can't wait for her, or she isn't available, then you can just bring in Mercedes Moné. Definitely a top tier star, and would almost definitely be the biggest star AEW would have on their women's roster if she comes in. She just lost her IWGP Women's Championship, so why not? It would be so ballsy if she just comes comes in and wins the belt, but she is that good that a match between the two of them would be unpredictable and by all accounts should absolutely slap. Point is, the bigger the star, whether they are already big or have been built to that level, the less predictable the outcome of a match between said star and Jade becomes, and helps Jade's run in AEW not feel stale or repetitive, as long as she doesn't have the same type of matches she usually has. I believe this, along with all the things I've mentioned before, is why her run is starting to stagnate or even regress, and I reckon some of the other topics that we've covered today can help rehabilitate it. So it's going to be interesting when Stephanie McMahon joins AEW after Triple H leaves WWE and joins AEW Creative, and then Stephanie squashes her in 10 seconds with a pedigree. Women's Revolution. And that is the end of the video. Knowing me, I have gone way over time. Don't worry guys, I will get better, but there was a lot to talk about and this was 2 months in the making. And yet I know I've forgotten things, so let me know what you think about Jade's TBS title run and her undefeated streak. Is it good? Is it fun? Could it be better, and how? Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment below and let me know what you think, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Go check out my 2 previous W series videos, and a few upcoming videos are in the works, so be ready for them. Thank you for watching and I'll catch you in a bit.